Guys, what up? What up? What is up, everyone? Welcome. That loop almost got me. That loop almost did the restart for the countdown. But we are not doing a minute. 30 seconds is long enough. So, what up, guys? What up? What up? And I see I need to remove something in the background. Man, you guys, and Sean's about to get banned. Starbucks is always necessity here at the Kickash podcast. But y'all, look, okay, I'm gonna sound like that bougie, basic white bitch, and that's okay. That's okay. I will be that person if that's what it makes me. Um, but man, I get a very simple drink, dude. A very simple drink. It's like 5 ingredients. It's literally iced coffee, 4 pumps of vanilla syrup, 3 pumps of classic. The ice is a given, right? And now I get my heavy cream on the side. I used to get light, or I used to ask for light heavy cream, but no matter where I go, it would either be almost no cream or it would be I'm drinking straight milk. So I was like, oh my God. And you guys know how fucking expensive Starbucks is, right? So I'm like, okay. So because I'm bougie, how can I fix this to where I can still get my coffee, but it's drinkable, right? Because I hate being that person sending stuff back, dude. Like if I ask for something like, for instance, with no tomatoes and lettuce, but it comes with all that and onions and all that, I'll just take the shit off. If I can still eat it or drink it, even if it's not exactly what I ordered, that's cool. Like like I may like be like, man, like this isn't exactly what I asked for, but whatever. You know what I mean? But I'm not gonna say anything because I just don't like to be that person. But man, Starbucks is fucking expensive, first of all. Second of all, it just got to a point where it's like, yo, like it's such a simple drink, dude. Like I don't understand what's so difficult about it. So then I was like, all right, bet. Randomly one day I had an epiphany that I can just ask for the heavy cream on the side. So that's what I've been doing. And bro, today, like I got it the first time, right? I got one this morning and they gave me regular cream, which again sounds like a minor factor, but it's completely different. It changes the consistency of the drink completely. And so I was like, all right, let me go. I'll drink this fine, whatever. But it just wasn't drinkable. So I went back not too long ago, obviously, and got another one. I used the excuse to take my dog to go get a pup cup. And I get it, and they try to give me regular cream again. I was like, hey man, I was like, can I just get heavy cream instead of this regular cream? And they're like, oh yeah, sure. So they give me that, and then bros, when I tell you, like they didn't put the classic syrup in there, so I pull off because like I always benefit, like I don't expect them to get it wrong, and the shit was just wrong. So not that you guys care about that, wasted 5 minutes probably of everyone's life, but yeah, bro, it's just so on the way back, I was just sitting there thinking, like, man, I just need to stop. I just need to stop. So maybe Sean, you're right. Maybe you're right. But this is my supposed to be right drink. It looks the color is great because I'm one of those two. Like if I see the drink, like I know it based off of the color of the coffee, right? It is what it is, guys. Oh, but what's up? What's up, everyone? That's obviously not the point of the show here. But Sean, you said that music is awesome. Yeah, bro. Thank you. I playing around with adding some stuff to the channel, right? It's called Pedal to the Metal by Matrika, I think, off of upbeat.com or whatever. I threw the copyright info or whatever into the notes of the show, so that's taken care of. But yeah, dude, it's pretty dope. I really liked it. So I appreciate that. I'm glad you did too. But what up, guys? I saw E in here earlier. What up? What up? And then I know, yeah, Jesse Rasco. What up, bro? What up, man? Good afternoon to everyone. You are something else, bro. Something else. We are here, man. We are here. But, guys, honestly, I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, man, like, I really want to do a live, but I don't really know what to talk about. Of course, there's always something to talk about, right? But it's just sometimes there's not really that subject that's that big of a deal, right? So I was like, man, like I don't want to like waste everyone's time, but I was like, fuck it, like we'll talk some talk and we'll just see what's going on. And I did want to. I thought it was pretty interesting. So obviously, with me being a part of Wrestling Media and the partnership that they have with One True Sport, RVD is on One True Sport. But I thought it was pretty cool that he actually addressed the whole Spike Spike being the baseball bat with the nails, and Moxley situation. He had made a comment about it, and then I guess fans were giving him backlash or whatever. So I'm pretty certain, yeah, it was a tweet that he released. So I kind of want to go over that because it's very interesting to me, especially with someone directly from the ECW era commenting on it. Because to me, I gave my thoughts on it, and I'll give them here again in a second. Kind of long story short, but that was one of the first things I thought of too, as I was watching the match itself, and not even the match, but like from that moment on, just man, like maybe it's just me, I was sitting there thinking maybe it's just me, and then like I flashed back to ECW, and granted, when ECW was live, I was too young to watch, but I obviously have seen on replay and stuff like that. And we of course have like death matches current day and that nature, so in GCW and all that stuff, so it's not like this stuff hasn't been happening recently or within the past 10-20 years or whatever. It's just we haven't seen that extent on live television, right, on broadcast television, right? So and again, like if you are new here, which a lot of you guys aren't, but if you're watching on replay, I have been to GCW shows, so I'm not one of those like frail little, like gentle people who can't watch certain shit or who can't handle gory shit or anything like that. I actually, like I say, I enjoy watching shit like that, but it doesn't bother me, right? Just like it takes a lot to offend me, stuff like that. So it wasn't, I wasn't coming at it from that aspect. I was just coming at it in the respect of like, to me, and again, kind of what I said on whatever stream it was, wrestling is an art form, right? In my opinion. And the fact that wrestling can be interpreted in many different ways is kind of the beauty in wrestling in and of itself, but also I think can be the detriment as well in a lot of ways. And in this, because to me with wrestling, it's not like we are the UFC or we're going out there to like actually hurt people, you know what I mean? Hurt Syndicate, right? That's not really the goal. It's the art form, and that's the beauty of it, right? Like being able to put on a show without actually going out there and killing each other. So when I saw the whole Spike incident thing and it being literally stuck in Moxley's back to the point where Wheeler Yuta couldn't pull it out. And I have like, and I even thought about it too, like excuse me, speculation, like, oh, maybe Eula really could, and he was just kind of overemphasizing it or being a little bit more dramatic. I don't think so, man. Like I think it was a challenge to get it out safely. You know what I mean? And thank God like it didn't go any closer to his spine specifically. And look, I am just someone sitting in my chair on a random Friday afternoon, just speculating, right? And just kind of giving my 2 cents, right? And I have had no training. I was in the ring. I didn't even want to say I took like a couple little bumps at like a training camp or whatever one time, and that shit was just so that like I have no room to talk, right? But my observations, and just me being a fan, like it just really like that's so many thoughts went through my head, right? And just seeing it and seeing how close it could have been, like, but again, like I say all that because I know I'm not a professional, right? And I know they know what they're doing. I know they've thought through everything. I know it could have been gimmicked or whatever. So I get that, right? Like I'm not naive to that fact. But to me, again, like I was kind of starting off by saying earlier, it's to me it's the art form of wrestling, right? Like not really going out there and punching someone in the head 10 times. You know what I mean? And really beating them. It's yes, making contact, and yes, being stiff and laying in chops and stuff like that, but it's we all know what it is, right? So to see that, I'm just like, man, like what, like, and on a Dynamite episode too. And again, to be fair and to give credit where credit is due, shout out to Moxley for driving, though I think it was like 11 or 12 hours they reported one way. I believe it was one way. Regardless, like even if, especially if it was one way, because you got to think of him doing that obviously both ways, unless he got to fly back or whatever. But he didn't need to, right? He could have very well said that weather inclement, and they actually could have played that up on his heel character and stuff like that. So the fact that he made an effort to get there and to go forward with the match and excuse me, not make excuses, I've always given props to that. And it's not even something where I want to like crap on them. Hold on one second. I also am fighting off a cold, so when it rains, it pours, right? 1 second. But yeah, sorry about that. But yeah, so again, I just always want to be fair and give props where it's due. But the fact that like, and again, like to me, this is something that Moxley most likely thought of himself, or him and Adam Copeland came up with themselves. I highly doubt that Tony Khan or someone on their 24 members of their writing staff came up with. And if it was, then wow. Or maybe it was a collaborative effort, right? Maybe it was a small group of all of them. So I don't know. But to me, like the beauty of wrestling, in my opinion, and how I've always looked at it, is like what I said earlier. And that was just, I don't know what, it wasn't too far for me, but it was just like, what are we really doing? You know, like what's the point of this? Like I already know Moxley's a psycho. I already know like he's willing to do whatever it takes. I just I didn't really see what I was supposed to get out of that. And I don't know, like to me, because Moxley ended up winning still. So it's like, I don't know, man. Like to me, it just didn't really make sense. Now, for instance, if they were to hold that spot and put that into the match that he's going to be having with Swerve, now my thought and last time I saw it was just a regular match, like a regular singles match between Mox and Swerve at Dynasty. I don't believe it's been no DQ or anything. I'll actually start pulling that up, but you could have saved it for a match with Swerve, right? Because we all know Swerve again is another psycho, right? All the shit he did with Hangman, um, and maybe had that play into. Hopefully, Swerve will be winning, and that you could have had that play into the pin and the decision and things like that. So to me, it was just a little bit unnecessary, and I hate even saying that because again, like what Moxley put himself through, like I feel like I'm kind of like shitting on it, but I just to me it was just kind of unnecessary. I just leave it at that. But I want to pull up RVD's tweet here. Shout out my guy RVD. I love how he starts it out. All right, so before I read RVD's comment, I'll throw that on the board here. I'm gonna jump back in the chat here real quick. Sean. All right, so he started out saying that was so stupid and just didn't need to happen. So yeah, pretty much. God, why is that chat so big? My goodness, isn't that just fucking obnoxious today? Like, why is it so big? That's what she said, right? He says also Sean, he being Sean. I don't mind a no holds barred match every once in a while, but the performers feel like they always have to outdo themselves every time, and that's not a good thing. Yeah, 100%, dude. Yeah, and like with the ladder matches, right? Like the Hardys have even said, like, man, to see the levels that the ladder match has even gone to nowadays, it's just almost scary. What up, Jesse? Again, you say AEW puts more emphasis on a spiked board in a match than their own world title. That's all you need to know about this company right now. Very fair, bro. Very fair point. And again, shout out to Ringside Renaissance. If you guys aren't following, you should be. But yeah, dude, and that put that back up there, even though it's like taking up half the screen. It's just I don't know, but the fact that we haven't seen the championship itself. Okay, like I feel like I'm drowning here. The fact that we haven't seen the championship itself in however many months, it's just very perplexing to me. I still like Moxley did explain it during one backstage segment a couple months ago at this point with Renee. And pretty much stating that you don't need, you know, you us being the fans, right? You don't need to see the championship he is the champion, and pretty much it's like a privilege or something to see the title. So okay, like fine, but also you have to think too, like in a AEW world where we have like 57 championships, the guy, the top guy coming out without the championship says more than having any type of emphasis in this story and what he was trying to do with that mindset, in my opinion, because you even see like the Ring of Honor World Champion, right? So you just see all these other championship titles. Mercedes has 4 right there. So I can understand where he's coming from with it, but it's like, bro, like your own company is like defeating the idea and the mindset behind it. So again, like I don't expect everyone to just come out there with no championships and no titles because then what's even the point? So in one hand, I get it, but I guess long story short, and that's why it just kind of makes it dumb, in my opinion. The whole title and the briefcase thing, like you should, I don't know, like, and that's like I respect Mox in so many ways, but man, like this story has just been such a miss, in my opinion, because it's too convoluted. It's completely taken different directions from the beginning to where we are now, and I'm almost at a point where it's like, yeah, Swerve should win. I well, not even like, or kind of at a point, Swerve absolutely should win. But if he does win the championship at Dynasty, it almost feels very abrupt. And I'm going to be talking out of like both hands in this regard. But in one way, I don't feel like we've been building Swerve particularly up to be the guy to dethrone Moxley. So that's why I feel like it'd be very abrupt. However, in the other hand, we have all, the majority of us, have been begging for Moxley to lose the championship now, right? So in that hand, it's long overdue. But that's why I don't think Swerve is going to be the one to end up dethroning Moxley. That's just the phrase that I keep going back to. Um, and if he's not, I'm wondering, and this is good on their part, right? Like this is something that needs to happen. You're wondering if not Dynasty, or if not Swerve at Dynasty, then who? And what happens to Swerve? Does he lose cleanly? That's what you should be wondering going into it. But I I don't know if it's going to be a revisit of Hangman getting involved, or if it's going to be MJF getting involved, and MJF and Swerve kind of entertaining each other for the next month or two, while tying that into the Hurt Syndicate aspect, because we still have that unfinished business with Swerve and Hurt Syndicate as well. So you could tie that in, and we know Swerve and MJF kind of teased and planted some seeds a few months ago as well, maybe even 6 months ago or so. So they could go that direction going into Double or Nothing, and then figure out the championship scene. If it is going to be Hangman leading into All In versus Moxley, because I still feel like that's where it's going to be. Then yeah, I know Ospreay's out there declaring. Well, I guess it's going to be, because didn't they say the winner of the Owen tournament is going to be challenging Moxley at All In? I gotta pull that up. But yeah, it's just, but that's the thing too. Like, there's so many different parts, and it's just so convoluted. I get to a point where I'm just like, fuck it. Like, I'll just wait and see. What up, Nick? What up, Nick? I appreciate you popping in, man. And E, you say RVD was live last night. A good episode. Yeah, bro. Sorry, guys. Very good episode. Very good episode. I've noticed too. I feel better, and then as I like sit down to do one of the shows, like the more I talk, the worse like the voice and the fighting off on whatever germs and cold is trying to creep in gets worse. So I probably won't go too long, but I just wanted to get out here and shoot the shit with you guys. So I'm gonna pull up RVD's tweet now, though, kind of tying it back into the original part. Yo, and again, I will say, StreamYard made it so much easier to share the page, like less clicks. But yeah, so This was the tweet that RVD was responding to. Read that real quick. And it was from a fella named Jamar Leith. He says, the real RVD, I respect your wrestling career, but saying you don't like the Jon Moxley Spike spot is laughable for someone who was working for ECW. For ECW, was that wrestling back then? The violence things that you and others did, barbed wire, flaming tables, a Type A death match, or Type A death match still got DVD. All right, so not the best wording and put together tweet there from my guy, but he probably didn't expect him to even see it, which I wouldn't. But RVD's response, this is what cracked me up. So he starts off by saying, some fans on here are another level of ignorant. Fucking hilarious. 1, concussions are part of my past, not my present or my future, no matter how much you don't know. 2, I've always said that the Abyss spot where he murdered me with Janice was stupid. I've always said back in ECW, the garbage matches took the place of wrestling because they didn't have wrestling in them. 3, do you think a writer gave Moxley that spot and he thought it was stupid? I don't. Didn't number these. I think you idiots are stupid, especially fans calling me a hypocrite when I'm as consistent as it comes. I didn't have barbed wire matches. I never bladed in ECW. Y'all are ridiculous for not being able to tell the difference. So, shout out to RVD for, setting the record straight. Now, I do want to pull up really quick his, if I can find it. His original comments on Spike. Because it wasn't even like he was really disrespectful or anything, in my opinion. So all right, so that, of course, was the visual. And again, I don't really. This is just the first article that came up, but look at that visual, guys. Look at that shit in Moxley's back. That shit's just crazy. It's just crazy. But I'm gonna share the article. Okay, there it is. Yeah, my computer is lagging like a mo. All right. So this is what RVD said, and shout out to nodq.com for the transcription. All right. A lot of shit going on here. Close all this out. My brain can't process all of this going on at once. All right, so RVD, Rob Van Dam on Jon Moxley's spike bump from AEW Dynamite. That's not wrestling to me, quote unquote. Sorry. As seen during the March 19, 2025 edition of AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley defeated Adam Copeland in a street fight hardcore match to retain the EW World title. While speaking on his podcast, WWE Hall of Famer Rob Van Dam discussed Moxley taking a bump on Cope's bat covered in nails. Starts with saying, quote, it's not my thing, not my kind of thing. That's not wrestling to me. But obviously that is sacrificing a lot for the business. I mean, that could be said about it. But the more AEW has been doing stuff like that, the more personally I feel like I would rather be associated with WWE than AEW, you know? Ooh. Like a couple of years ago, it was like, man, they're growing, they're trying things to get up there. And then there's a feel that the inmates are running the prison, which there always has been, for better or worse. I don't know why is this so hard for me to read right now. I mean, that was used. It's just weird reading someone else's words. But he says, continuing in the quote, I mean, that was used as a good point at first, like, hey, the boys are running it cool. But for me, this serves as an example of why that might not be a good idea, but it is a style of wrestling. I personally look at it as being lower than the standard, substandard, because it's going to draw only a certain niche crowd that's into that kind of stuff. I didn't like it. It's really crazy dangerous. I don't want to knock their freedom of expression. I think that's probably cool to them, or else they would turn it down when it was at the idea phase if it didn't sound cool, right? So congratulations to pulling off a crazy stunt, death-defying stunt, for better or worse, you know? And then that quote was courtesy of WrestlingHeadlines.com. So, to be honest with you guys, like, I'm kind of like right there with them. And again, that's what prompted fans' response on Twitter, and that's what that guy was referencing. And then this is what RVD's response was, and that we just read. And to be fair, like, RVD wasn't really known for that, right? Like, RVD was the wrestling guy. Like, that was the part of ECW that differentiated from just being like garbage wrestling, and differentiated it from WCW and WWF at the time as well. Not just the quote unquote garbage wrestling, right? But they also had Lucha Libre. They also had high flyers like Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, right? Not that he was more of a hybrid, but you guys get it. But especially introducing the foreign wrestlers, right? Excuse me. So between and bringing in the likes of like Eddie Guerrero, right, and Chris Jericho, and just really diversifying the sport, as it'd always be a sport to me, right? Like I get that it's probably not, but to me it just is. You know, I am what I am. But to me, people like, say what you want about him, but like Eric Bischoff and especially, well, not especially Eric Bischoff, but Eric Bischoff and Paul Heyman. But Eric Bischoff gets a lot of shit, right? People love to talk shit about him. I am not one of them, because I respect a lot of what he's done for the business. And look, like a lot of the stories that we hear in wrestling have a lot of different sides to it, right? God, just look at the Montreal Screwjob. Like, that shit has so many different sides to it. 5 different people say they're responsible for providing the idea, right? So that tells you right there, like, believe what you want, right? But, and does he probably I don't want to say over exaggerate, but really emphasize the negatives of AEW? Yeah, he does. But he took offense to a comment that Tony Khan had made at one point. I don't remember the exact quote, but Tony Khan had pretty much stated that if Ted Turner knew like a fraction or like a percentage of what he knew, he being Tony Khan, of wrestling, then WCW would still be in business. Something to that effect. And that really soured Eric Bischoff, who, excuse me, sorry, I would say had a closer relationship with Ted. No need to get into all that. Hold on one second, because I don't want to cough into you guys. Sorry about that. But I'll be taking another Zycam after the stream. But Eric really took offense to that. And I think that really just put a certain mindset of Tony Khan into Eric Bischoff's brain, and it just went from there, right? Because if you guys remember, what was it, 2020, I believe, with the MJF segment when he was, ironically enough, going after John Moxley, Dictator John, right? And MJF was going the whole presidential route and, MJF for 2020 route. I'm pretty certain it was related to that, where Eric Bischoff was one of the people who came out and was asking questions type thing, I think. So he, I'm not say of course, but he has had certain, or that may have been the first and only one, but that's the one that I remember. But he did have a working relationship, even if it was just a very brief one at one point. And the falling out happened thereafter, and they just obviously have not been on the same page since. So, long story short, I get why some people may not enjoy Eric Bischoff, and that might not be their cup of tea, but I don't know. I enjoy. I haven't even listened to his podcast in some time. Not to throw shade. I just honestly, like, when I'm listening to a lot of stuff lately, it's been on court cases, so not even wrestling related. So that's just in general. But I just feel like he brings so much to wrestling history. And if you remove Eric Bischoff, man, like I just feel like wrestling may not be where it's at now. Now, do I think it wouldn't be as successful? No, I think it would still definitely have been successful, but I think it would have looked a lot different and maybe taken, or may WWF, WWE may have had to take a different path, or it could have been delayed. So I'll just always wonder, like, what if, like that's, to me, that's one of the great what ifs in wrestling history. So with Rob Van Dam, back to the point, with Rob Van Dam addressing this and really reminding people that, yo, like, yes, ECW is remembered for the brutality of what they did, right? Flaming tables, stuff like that. That's not all that they provided and not all that they did. So I don't know. To me, like, I just really appreciated his response. So taking it back to AEW, I hope, and kind of like pivoting slightly, but not really. And going back to the dynasty portion of it, I wish they would have just saved the spot for a match with Swerve. And if they're going to run it back with Swerve, maybe not do it in the first match, even if they're gonna like do like a 2 or 3 match little, I guess, run with Moxley and Swerve, then you could do it in that type of environment. But to me, and yes, like granted, they had been going, their story with Copeland and Moxley had been going on for a few months at that point, but to me, it just still was never truly believable that Copeland was going to be the one to dethrone Moxley. And not even like just character wise, right? Because that's just not where, I guess, what we have been picking up, like the trajectory of it has been telling us it's going to be an AEW original, in my opinion. Like that's been the whole gist of it, right? So, or someone who is deeply ingrained into the AEW fabric, right? So, to me, that was just another reason why Copeland just didn't really make sense for that type of spot. So, don't want to beat a dead horse, but that's kind of where I'm at with it. And again, like I hope that Swerve ends up beating Moxley at Dynasty, but I don't think it's gonna happen, man. I really wanted to, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. Pulling up the comments here. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sean. You said it does feel abrupt and very anticlimactic, and that part is sad. Swerve never should have lost to Danielson. I would die on that hill. Agreed, bro. And I was thinking about that too. I'm sorry. The other day, like when you think back on it, the whole reason this started and the person that Moxley beat was Bryan Danielson, man. And to me, that's where we started off on an odd foot, because having Moxley, okay, fine. If you want Moxley to turn on Danielson, cool, fine, whatever. But the reasoning that he gave, it just didn't line up with Bryan Danielson because first of all, they the whole concept of BCC, right, Blackpool Combat Club, was blood in, blood out, right? Like they beat each other up in a very, in brutal matches. The one at Revolution, right, 2 years ago, 3 years ago at this point, 2 or 3 years ago, whatever. And it was like a brotherhood, right? Yes, Regal ended up leaving, so it ended up kind of being awkward. Intro Claudio, right? But the whole Moxley turning on Danielson because of the reasonings that he gave of AEW not being a serious, like AEW wrestlers not taking it seriously anymore and it being a joke, that didn't fit Danielson. And to me, that from jump was like a head scratcher because like that and maybe you can even say, but like devil's advocate, I try to play. You can even say like, okay, yes, Danielson didn't embody that goofiness, right? Like that version of it, but he did but Moxley still needed to dethrone, take over and beat Danielson for the championship because he needed to start that cause and he needed to start that going forward. So you can say that, okay, but to me that's still just dumb because like why would you want to really burn a bridge with Danielson. And not only did Moxley just beat Danielson, he tried to suffocate the dude, right? He put a plastic bag over his face. So to me, it was just dumb from the jump. Yeah, you say RVD also said he only bleeded 2 times. The rest of the times were him actually being busted open on his pod. He even said on his pod, ECW matches where wrestling moves involved objects, not just two people standing in a ring with a nail bag. And again, dude, yeah, ECW, and not all of them are perfect, right? But ECW matches had a way of really telling a story. And the matches that we saw in that brutality, I'd say 8 times out of 10, were the culmination of matches, right? Like, or the culmination, not the culmination of matches, but the culmination of storylines, or a vital point in that story for it to progress and for it to continue. So I don't know. It's just, yeah, man. You said that, yeah. Yeah, so again, of course, check out RVD's pod for sure. But yeah, E, thank you, man. You said 16-minute video on his one of a kind with RVD channel. It what he said last night during a stream, more response to the Mox and Cope. So yeah, obviously, definitely go there for more insight onto that as well. But we're gonna kind of shift gears a little bit and go away from that, and we will take a look at the Smackdown lineup. And my connection is gonna be looks like it's lagging, or will be soon. So another reason to jump off here momentarily. But I appreciate you guys for popping in and popping out. Um, I'm going to start doing it on Twitter as well, possibly, but I just really don't want to pay Twitter. You know what I mean? So that's my hesitation there, because the only way you can really stream to Twitter is through a paid subscription, and to me, that's just I just don't know how I feel about that. You know what I mean? But the SmackDown preview, because if you have a VPN or if you are streaming, or depending on where you at in the world, SmackDown will be starting very, very soon. And I'm going to pull that up here really quick. We'll go through a brief SmackDown preview. Oh, man, guys. I'm sorry, man. I did not feel this bad until I sat down and started talking. All right. WWE. And I did start watching the LFG show as well. I think that's excuse me. I still feel weird about like being so behind the scenes, man, but it's really cool. I only got to episode 1 because I ended up falling asleep. No shame on them. It was just like 2 o'clock in the morning. But it's really cool. I really like the layout, and I really like the realness that Undertaker, Bubba, Booker T, and Mickey James did. I know Michelle McCool ended up becoming involved, but I just really like their the vibe coming from them, and I don't know. I like the format of it. But a quick preview for SmackDown tonight, which will be starting, like I said, at 4. If you, depending on where you're at, if you're watching with the VPN, if not, it will be at 8 p.m. Eastern. But we do have, check this out. Where are they airing from tonight? Yo, and real quick, the fucking prices that they're charging for WrestleMania and the Hall of Fame. I know I've spoken about it before, but Jesus, like, I, no offense, but I hope they do have less than 50K for ticket wise for each night, so they can revisit the whole charging thousands and thousands of dollars for one seat for one night. Like, F off with that, bro. All right. I think they're in London tonight, for real, for real. I could be wrong about that. What's today's date? 3/28. Yeah, London. Cool. So the preview, of course, the main event, the main attraction is CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins will be in London for Smackdown, where they'll put pen to paper for their contract signing, which would be cordial, right? Like nothing ever happens at contract signings. Uh, prepare yourself for a rocket's atmosphere as Friday Night Smackdown emanates from tonight from the O2 in London. Oof. Hey, does anyone remember what happened the last time CM Punk was in the UK? I don't know. I don't think anything crazy happened or anything that would be warranting of being in fear for your life or anything like that. Hmm. Anywho, prepare yourself again for that raucous atmosphere. It will be airing, of course, regular time, 8 p.m. Eastern. But if you have a VPN and depending on where you're at in the world, you can watch it at 4, I believe is the kickoff time, which I do have a VPN, so I'm gonna check that out and see if I can pull that up. I just gotta get it linked to my computer here. I have it on my phone. But of course, like I said, the contract signing between our guys CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins will be happening, which I think is gonna be very interesting to see how they all mesh in that setting in regards to the Paul Heyman aspect of it. Because I don't know, man, like just the little things and the little references and the little sites that we've seen between Punk and Heyman, like Punk saying, "Oh, thanks for bringing him out here to me," and just the way Roman's been looking at Heyman. I'm really intrigued to see if we get any continuation or any additions to that tonight in the contract signing or any reference to the favor, which I'm not really thinking we will, but in regards to the favor, but I'm hoping, or not even hoping, but I'm really curious to see what happens with Paul Heyman, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns. And early prediction here. I don't know if anyone else has made this prediction, and again, I'm behind on my stream, so if you have, my bad. But I'm going with the Seth Rollins win at WrestleMania 41 in this triple threat. I think it's very fitting. I think Seth is damn overdue for a win at WrestleMania in particular with all the hard work and everything that, not even hard work, right? Because they all work hard, but all of the situations that this man has been put into and all of the wrestlers that he has put over and he's lost to and just everything that he's done for the business for the past 4 years. I think there's no better situation for him to get a big victory in than this one. So if they don't have Rollins win, I'm actually going to be very disappointed. And this is coming from a huge, obviously, CM Punk fan, right? So I do have biasy, um, which I admit when it comes to all things Punk. But and again, that's why I say, like, even and more so, I feel strongly for it because Rollins has just been that guy, man. Like Rollins, and what, like, I know he's not even supposed to be a heel, but can you imagine him just coming out there and just rubbing it in both of their faces that he beat them at WrestleMania? Like, bro, like that would just be because first of all, he fucking hates CM Punk, right? So especially if he pins CM Punk at WrestleMania, bro, next level, next level. So I think that'd be really fun. I just think that they could get a lot more out of a Seth Rollins win than a CM Punk or Roman Reigns win. And another reason why I think that too is because I think that it can fuel the hatred between CM Punk and Roman Reigns even more, depending on if they're going to want to do that leading or continue the story, kind of like a year story leading into next year's WrestleMania. Because I highly doubt the first time you have Punk and Reigns one-on-one, you want to do that as, and in this formation, you want to do that at SummerSlam. Like, yes, that's the second biggest. It's just, the party of the summer, right? The second biggest show. But I think that's a Mania match for that first one. And then after that, you can go on different shows. But I think the story coming out of the triple threat is that you can have is Seth Rollins beating both CM Punk and Roman Reigns because the hatred that Punk and Reigns has between each other and the obsession that they have between each other and the backstory with the origins of the Shield and why it was created and how Punk didn't want Reigns to be in the Shield. He wanted it to be Chris Hero. All this stuff. You can just bring that up, right? Whether you want to mention names specifically, but bro, like, especially if you want to do it for the next year, there's so much meat that you can get into before you even have Heyman potentially turning on Reigns as well, right? Like, yes, that's what everyone's thinking of first, but you don't even need to get into that right now. You can go through the story, man, and it could start the week after WrestleMania. And again, it depends on how long you're gonna have Reigns because he has a very limited schedule. But man, like, and you want that fiery version of Punk. You want that pissed off version of Punk. That angst to come out of him. Fucking have him talk about the origins of the Shield and what he wanted the direction to be and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So man, like I just think there's just so much on the table for that, and I hope that they end up getting to that point. And if they don't, it's a very big miss. And again, like I hope too that because when you think about it, like what good, especially Reigns, like what good would it do Reigns to win this triple threat match at Mania? No benefit in my opinion. And I think actually it would do more harm than good because adding to that story, now Reigns will have lost 2 years in a row at WrestleMania, whereas before he was what was his record, right? Like damn near undefeated. So if not undefeated. So I think you can really add that as another layer to the story, add that as another layer to potentially Heyman turning on Roman. Like Reigns can say what he wants to say against or to Heyman at that point. Then Heyman could be like, well, you haven't been yourself. All this stuff. Like, you used to be the tribal chief and now you've lost back to back at WrestleMania. That's not you. All this stuff, right? Like, you can really just pile it on. And then CM Punk, like, okay, like, that would be, whatever. But that would be my second pick to win if you're not going to have Rollins win, to have CM Punk win, because not even, and honestly, like I just really want Rollins to win. But like if you're gonna have Punk win, it could be beneficial because it's Punk's first WrestleMania match back in since what, WrestleMania 29. Because of course he was injured last year, which is just crazy to think about. So you could do that, but honestly, too, like I think that would do more harm than good to him as well as a character, because I think that first victory he has at WrestleMania back, you want that to be for the championship, and whether that's going to be next year with him going in against Roman Reigns, but I don't know how you would have. I don't think you would put the title back on Reigns before then, so you may have CM Punk going into WrestleMania as maybe the World Heavyweight Championship, and you could have, which would be maybe crazy to see, Roman Reigns and CM Punk feuding over the Raw World Heavyweight Championship, but that could add more prestige and emphasis to that title as well. Sorry, Gunther. But you could do that, right? And then have Cody doing whatever he's going to be doing potentially, if that's with, and I know they potentially were laying found, or not even potentially, they were laying a foundation for at some point CM Punk and Cody Rhodes, but you could, God knows what's going to happen between now and next year for Cody. So I'm not really worried about Cody, but I think that having Punk lose and being even more frustrated, right? Because let's say the final sequences in the Mania match is CM Punk hitting a go to sleep on Rollins, hitting that, and then going after Reigns, going to do whatever moves, maybe hit the GTS on Roman. Roman reverses out of it, pushes them off, goes for the spear, hits that, or maybe a Superman punch, whatever, depending on the layout. And then now you have Rollins getting back up to his feet, being able to hit the stomp onto CM Punk, throwing Reigns out of the ring itself, and then picking up the victory. That would piss off CM Punk because Reigns did all the work, and Reigns is the one who wiped out Punk. Did the heavy bulk of the lifting right there, right? Yes, Rollins would have hit the stomp in that situation, but he was already down, right? So that could add another layer of the angst and the retribution that CM Punk is going to want to get against Reigns. So, and Reigns will be pissed too because CM Punk cost Reigns the match, just like he blames CM Punk for costing him the Rumble victory. So, just so much you can go off of with that. But I'm going to take a second here because I can't breathe. Oh, I think it's starting soon. I saw your comment, bro. When I was muting myself, you said CM Punk wins. And bro, obviously, like I'd fucking love that. And you was like, this is one that got me though. You're like, are you sure it's just Starbucks in that cup, bro? I wish it was something. I wish it was something more than Starbucks because that'd probably be better than what this shit is right now. But dude, like, all right, do you want to put a little? I don't know how we would, but a little friendly wager. I don't see Punk winning, bro. Obviously, I'd fucking love it if Punk won at Mania, but I don't see that being a possibility, bro. Not a possibility, but I don't see that being the thing. Again, I'd love it because my guy would win, but nah, I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening this year. Not in this match. I'm going, Rollins. I'm putting that in the atmosphere. You say Punk or Roman winning? Nah, bro. Nah, it's gonna be my guy Seth, bro. It's gonna be Seth. Don't you think he needs a victory, bro? Like, he needs to win. He needs to win. Especially at Mania. Nick, what up, Nick? What up, bro? You said, did you see the referee Jessica Carr show up in Evolve under a new wrestling gimmick? Yes, Calyx. I think Calyx is it's Kalyx. I believe is her name, and she's under some type of mask or face paint. It was. I didn't see the actual show, but that's Evolve is another thing that I put on my list to really check out. Because I really love the diversity, man, and just the different levels that WWE is doing and showing you how difficult it is to become a wrestler and make it, right? But also the work and the struggle and the different layers that it takes to go through the process, right? Like you don't just, depending on your name, you don't just go from being a decent athlete to NXT to main roster, right? Again, depending on who you are, the normal average person without any type of past affiliation or name value, right? Like me, like if I were starting out, there's no way I would go from a training school straight to NXT, right? Unless I just knocked it out of the park, which there are certain, I'm not saying it's impossible, but your average person, they're gonna have to hit the indies, right? And it's gonna take years of experience and reps because there's so many talented people out there, especially nowadays where the in-ring wrestling quality is just really just on a different level, right? Like the basic foundation has raised, right? Like that bar has been risen. So that itself is again just another reason why it's we're just so fortunate to be watching wrestling and this time of this age, right? And just the access that we have to it. But I just really think it's cool to be able to see so many different new names too, right? And Kylie Ray, it's cool to see her out there now too. She's had a very interesting path. And again, I was gonna say it's a shame AEW let her go, but I believe she asked for her departure there. I don't remember the exact situation. I think there was like some, I don't know. I think it was like a weird situation, but I don't know. I don't know. I would bring it up because I don't remember the exact. But I think there was something that she was just like, it just wasn't a good fit. And then I think she had even stepped away for a little while from wrestling as a whole to kind of work on some mental health things, I believe it was she had posted, and just some personal things, but she has posted on her Twitter. So I'm just happy someone like her is back and having a platform and an opportunity to really get exposure, right? And even if it is going to take a little bit of time and you're starting not from the ground up, but maybe, like you're not going straight into NXT, you're still under the umbrella, right? And you're still getting that rub and you're still having some certain people watch. And I think that's really cool. And it's really promising for the future for WWE as well, showing how they're willing to play ball, right? Obviously, with the partnership with TNA, the Hardy Boys have made a statement. I don't know if it was Matt or Jeff specifically, but one of them, probably Matt, mentioned that it's not almost a guarantee, but don't be surprised if you see the TNA Tag Team Champions on a main WWE show like Raw or SmackDown. And of course, they're the tag champs for now. They do have a match coming up at the next pay per view. I believe it's April 27th against Ryan and Nick Nemeth. I don't know. I mean, but guys, remember the lawsuit. Remember the lawsuit. He hasn't been able to get work, Ryan Nemeth. So hopefully that match stays a thing because you know what I mean. It's been rough out there, but yeah. So we'll see. We will see. But a sign overall that they're expanding. So, with that being said, moving back to SmackDown preview, because it's starting here now, depending on where you are. We will be seeing the WWE Men's United States Championship match, LA Knight facing off against Braun Strowman, a WWE Tag Team Championship match, the Street Profits, with that, I do not like the new music, the new old music, I don't like it, facing off against Pretty Deadly, and I think that's the last advertised, yeah, just those 3 matches, or 2 matches advertised, and then the contract signing. But yeah, guys, if you are able to watch now, enjoy that. If you're watching later on, then enjoy that as well. I'm gonna wrap up here. I don't know if you sent that before or after regarding LFG. I watched the first episode, and then I ended up falling asleep just because I started it too late. It was like 2:00 in the morning. But yeah, I'm gonna finish or catch up rather that, and I want to catch up on Evolve as well. So I will be throwing that on. Like I said, I'm going to see if I can watch SmackDown now, though, because that'd be cool to get that out of the way and then have my evening free. So we'll see. But all right, guys, thank you so much for popping in here. I really appreciate it. Again, another random stream. Whether you watched live or you're watching on replay, I truly appreciate you guys. You guys help make the channel what it is and getting it out there into the algorithm and into the YouTube universe, right? Easy for me to say. But like I was saying, I can't do this without you guys. I guess I could, but I'd just be talking to myself, literally, which I do, but it just wouldn't be recorded. But yeah, thank you guys so much. I truly appreciate it. I am going to go take a Zycam and maybe some hot tea because this coffee just was a fail. And watch a little bit of SmackDown, hopefully. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for popping on to the stream and watching on replay if you did that as well, or listening to the audio version if I remember to put that out. I appreciate you guys so much. Like I said, until next time, guys, stay safe out there, take care, and enjoy some wrestling.